Well, my view is that our part of the country really holds the key to the future of U.S. politics and economics in a lot of ways. So in the course of sharing South Bend's story, I'm really trying to tell a broader story about the interior of the U.S., and I'll be interested to see how that resonates with the experience of students from around the state of Indiana, especially here in Indianapolis. As for the questions, we'll see what they have to say. I will say I've been struck, especially in the early states I've been visiting, by how much there is an attention to some of the biggest and deepest questions facing our country and our party. Well, the basic thing I want people to understand is that this is a part of the country that is not afraid of change, that we're prepared to embrace and succeed in the future. And I think that's really important because a message has been offered up that the only way to our hearts here in the so-called Rust Belt is through nostalgia and resentment. And I don't think that's the right way forward for us. I think South Bend's story is a powerful counter-argument to that. And the kind of politics that I'm trying to fashion is based on the idea that you cannot have an honest politics that revolves around the word again. That we have to understand that change is coming, but we have to find a way to make change work for us. And I think many of the central concerns in our politics and in our society are about that question. How do we make sure that our communities and our families get ahead when we have such deep political and economic and technological change happening around us? Look, for this to succeed, this has to be a grassroots effort. The DNC has made it clear that to be invited onto that debate stage, you need to have 65,000 different people contributing to you in any amount. It could be $5. But we're really counting on anybody who believes that a Midwestern millennial mayor belongs in a conversation that has largely been dominated by famous people from a different generation who work in Washington and typically come from the coasts. If anybody wants to mix that up a little bit, even people still making up their mind over who they want their candidate to be for 2020, then I hope we'll get a look, and I hope they'll be part of this movement to try to bring something completely different onto that stage. I really think that we have a chance to refashion the way that my party in particular talks about big issues, from freedom to security. And I think that that begins by putting forward a different kind of leadership from a generation that hasn't had the same seat at the table yet, but is about to. I belong to the generation that was in high school when the Columbine school shooting happened, that's going to be living through the consequences of climate change. In many ways, we already are. And the generation that stands to be worse off than our parents for the first time in American history if something doesn't change. That's one of the reasons we need new faces and new leadership. And I believe that that starts with a different kind of political practice. It's part of what we're trying to do. And the only way to determine how well that'll work is to go out there and do it.